Hi, welcome back to Energy Works. My name is Blaine. I have a solo episode today, and maybe I might start off on a little bit of a soapbox about this one. Today's episode is on sleep, and I chose this for today. I'm a menopausal health coach and I have one-on-one clients, and people reach out to me about seeking my help or being their coach or is wanting some kind of services from me or information from me in this area. And a big topic is sleep. They have trouble sleeping, and then they don't have as much energy during the day or inconsistent energy during the day, and they're frustrated that they're up at night and generally feel like their quality of life isn't as good because of the sleep problem. And why I say I have a little bit of a soapbox on this is because most women know what to do. And not just with sleep, but with general health information. People get in this cycle where they have a problem and they're seeking information. And so they read a book or listen to a podcast or seek some professional advice and then hear the things they already knew. And so just dismiss it. I already knew that. I already knew that. I already knew that. And the question is not, did you already know this? The question is, are you doing it? Because it's like these women are seeking some secret answer that they've never heard before, and it's going to solve all their problems, and it's easy, right? They want the easy answer. And these things, I already knew that, I already know that, or I know what to do, but I'm just not doing it, which is usually the basics, isn't helping people, isn't serving anyone. So as you're listening to this, I think I'll probably share several things that you do know already, but you're not doing if you're someone who struggles with sleep, and maybe a few things that you don't already know, especially from the energetic, big picture perspective. It's going to be a quick episode, so I'll move through fairly quickly, so it won't take up too much of your time. But our sleep is driven by our circadian rhythms. We are an animal. You are an animal. I am an animal. And our circadian rhythms drive what we do and drive our hormones. Our hormones and our circadian rhythms are very tightly connected. And the hormones are receiving cues from light. The major trigger of circadian rhythm is light. And the hormones are signalers that drive everything in the body. Everything that our body does is being cued by our hormones. And so if we can get our circadian rhythm really stable, then we will experience better sleep and we will have more hormonal balance, which will serve many of the other problems, or I should say maybe serve good health. I'll take it on that side, which will serve good balanced health and balanced energy better if we have stable hormones. So the sunlight is what I'm talking about. That's really what we want to expose ourselves to, sunlight during the day without sunglasses and without windows. The lights of our screens and the lights in our homes and in our rooms and all that sort of thing, that messes with the circadian rhythm. And unfortunately, we can't just open our windows and let the sunlight in or drive in our car and look and say, oh, here's my sunlight for the day, because all of our glass windows have filters on them. There's UV filters that's in our car and around our home. And so we want to expose our eyes to unfiltered sunlight. And so that is going outside. And so the more that we are just outside in the sun every day, the more that we are exposing our eyes to sunlight and using that to set our circadian rhythms. And it is strongest in the morning. So the sunrise, sun coming above the horizon time is really impactful. But it's also impactful the sunset in the evening time. And that's telling our body when it's time to be awake and when to be toning down for bed, because it's our hormones. I'll spare you all of the details about it, but it's the hormones. It's like, it's wake time, it's morning, it's time to get up. And then it's hormones that in the evening start to wind us down and we start to feel tired. And that's the piece that I think is missing sometimes for people, is that at the end of the day, when it is bedtime, you should, to use that word, or it is helpful if you are really tired. If you got up early in the morning, if you had a full day, including seeing some sunlight and being outside and getting some exercise, and then if your body's getting the signals at night that it's time to wind down for bed, and when you get in bed, you're tired because you've had a full day. Then you wake up refreshed the next morning. Then you go to bed tired the next night. You wake up refreshed the next morning. You go to bed tired the next night. That is how you get the full night of sleep. There are cognitive behavioral therapists who work with people who can't sleep, and I am not one. And so I have some exposure to what they do from talking to them and talking to people who have experienced this kind of cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. But I'll share with you what I understand it is. Just understand that that is not what I do for a living. And so if you want to seek this out, you would seek out an actual cognitive behavioral therapist. And the way that they work with people is it's something that you really need to be serious about wanting to sleep well, which is a little bit of my point to this whole thing, because I feel like from the people I talk to, there's this frustration about not being able to sleep, but then they're in such habit and pattern with whatever they do all day long and before bed, and they're unwilling to change their habits and patterns. And so they're kind of not changing anything and then complaining about not being able to sleep well. But if you don't change, nothing is going to change. So in a nutshell, how CBT works is they put a sleep device on you that tracks your sleep. And then you just do what you do, whatever your normal thing is. You go to bed, you wake up in the night, you get up in the morning, just however you operate. You do that for several days, and then they track exactly what is happening and all of your different, REM and levels of sleep that you're in and how much you're awake and how much you're asleep. And then they figure out the average hours of sleep a night that you actually get. And so I'll say, for the purpose of example, I'll say someone goes through this and it turns out they're getting 5.5 hours of sleep a night. It's kind of an extreme example maybe, but we'll just go with that, 5.5. So then what you do is you only get to sleep 5.5 hours. And by sleep, that means be in bed. And so for several nights in a row, we'll say that 5.5 is your number. Then maybe you go to bed at 11 o'clock at night and you get up at 4:30 in the morning. No matter how much you were awake in there, that's it. You go to bed at 11, you get up at 4:30, no matter what. That's 5.5 hours. And after a few nights of doing this, you're so tired that when your head hits the pillow at 11, you sleep the whole night until 4:30. And you do that again, and you do that again. And so then you add on an hour. So you go to bed at 11, you get up at 5:30. You go to bed at 11, you get up at 5:30. Now you're sleeping 6.5 hours a night. And the therapist works with you to determine what is your ideal number of hours a night for your health, and that's what you get to. And so you go to bed at X time and you get up at X time, no matter what, no matter how much you were awake in the middle of the night. You don't take any naps. You go to bed, you get up. And eventually you get to the point that you go to bed, you sleep your amount of time that's ideal for you, you get up, and your body has habituated into this rhythm. And that's how it works. And that's really how it works. That's how people who sleep well at night operate. They go to bed at the same time every night and they get up at the same time every morning, no matter what. And then when it's the time to go to bed, they're tired again. And so the ancient traditions, Ayurveda from India, traditional Chinese medicine, the morning hours are sacred. The morning hours are incredibly special. Getting up before the sun rises, having your morning routine, greeting the day with the sunrise, which in both traditions is 5 a.m. Actually, Ayurveda, I think a lot of Ayurveda says 4 a.m. That is when you get up in the morning and greet the day. And our biological clock, our circadian rhythm, agrees with that. I'm not saying that's what you need to do, but I hope I'm driving home the point that 7 days a week, every week, every month, all the time, you go to bed and get up at the exact same time. And that is really how you bake into your circadian rhythm and your biological clock this knowing of when to go to sleep and when to wake up, because there's so much magical healing that is happening in your body when you sleep. In Chinese medicine, it's called the 24-hour qi cycle. And we have 12 meridians. And then each meridian has 2 hours where it is at its peak. And this qi cycle, in this 24 hours of a day, is the energy running through your body. Your qi, your energy is running through your body 24 hours a day in this certain pattern. And a really important one is 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. That is liver. And that is when liver is cleansing your blood and doing a myriad of other healing activities, 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. And a lot of people say they're awake in that 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. And so these processes are not happening in your body, these healing processes, I'm not getting into. Maybe I'll do the whole qi health, the 24-hour qi health cycle on a different podcast. So today I'm just digging into this 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. You really want to be in a deep sleep right then, because there's a lot of important healing that's happening in your body. And when we sleep, we are in yin, and this 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. is the deepest yin time. And then when 3 a.m. happens, signals start happening in qi, in our energy, in our body, that we are working our way to waking up, because then we want to wake up at 5. And then we have a bowel movement, and there's, qi is moving through the body in this 24-hour cycle. And that's what we're trying to get to. And we talk all the time about how thousands of years ago, all of these processes were observed in the body. In today's world, there are, what are they called? Circadian biologists. There are circadian biologists who study how organs at different times of the day are at their peak or at their trough. And so there's actually modern science that supports this too, the kind of the qi organ cycle, meridian cycle that is thousands of years old. And so the more that we get patterned into our body, not only are we sleeping better, but we are healing better. The cleansing and healing processes that happen while we're sleeping can happen because we're asleep. I have a teacher in my food energetics class who said, if you're waking up at night, your yin can't hold your yang down. Yin is nighttime. Yang is daytime. And so if you experience that, your yin can't hold your yang down and you're waking up at night, then you need to do more yin during the day, especially before you go to bed. Having your quiet cup of tea, having a bath, maybe doing some breath work or some meditation before bed. So you can let the yang start to go where it needs to go at night. It needs to be down. And the yin can come fully present so that it can do its job, the healing job that yin has while you are sleeping. So I'll say some of the obvious things. Maybe no caffeine at all, or at least no caffeine afternoon. No alcohol at all. Alcohol is really disruptive, especially we're talking about this liver time that is so important from 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. We don't want to disrupt that. And so not having caffeine late, not drinking alcohol at all, and then the screen time. Because when women talk to me about how they can't sleep, I say, what do you do before bed? And it's a lot of watching TV. Your TV is a screen. If you are watching TV until the moment you go to bed, you are watching a screen. You have this artificial light that is in your eyes all the way until bed. It also includes your phone or your iPad or your laptop. You want, in the hours before bed, I'll say at least 1 hour before bed, you want to have all of that shut off. Have your lights either very low, like maybe no overhead lights and just a low lamp or something like that. I personally, before bed, read a book, an old-fashioned book with like pages that turn, with my reading glasses and a low light lamp. It's literally just as light as I need to be able to read. And that helps me, kind of settle down into getting ready to sleep. And, we talk about the morning routines all the time, how important they are. Your evening routine is important too. And so creating your cup of tea or your reading or your light or your bath, or maybe the energy medicine yoga wind down, if you know that. Anything like that, just doing the same thing every single night before you go to bed is really sending cues to your body that it is sleep time. If you do wake up in the middle of the night, my best advice is that you do the neurovascular holds on your head. And I know some of you are listening and some of you are watching on YouTube, but you can cup the eyes, heels of the hand below the eyes, fingertips in the hairline, your thumbs are on your temples. You can do that head hold. You can just put your hand over your forehead like I have a headache, just with one hand. Or you have these points all over your head. So you can just reach up to your scalp, your skull, and put your hands in any position that feels intuitive for you to just hold your head. And it's very calming, holding these neurovascular points on your head. And the other thing that works for many people, including me, is counting breath. And so lightly sealing your lips, breathing in and out through the nose, and counting 1 to 10 over and over. So you inhale, exhale, that's 1. Inhale, exhale, that's 2. Inhale, exhale, that's 3. It's probably a little bit slower than that. But once you get to 10, you start over at 1 again. Count to 10, start over at 1 again. If you forget what count you're on, start over at 1 again. And so either while you're holding your head or after you're holding your head, very consciously and slowly and deeply breathe in and out through the nose. Each full breath, which is an inhale and an exhale, is a count of 1 and then 2, and keep doing that until you fall back asleep. I think I wrote an article once called Stop Counting Sheep, Start Counting Breaths. I think that's what it was. But it's really effective to just focus on the breath and do the neurovascular holds. I think I'm just taking a quick look at my notes. I think this is everything that I wanted to say about sleep. It's just so important that you're consistent with a bedtime that's early enough. I go to bed. I'm in my bed about 8:30. I'm asleep by 9. I get up at 5. That's 7 days a week. Asleep by 9, get up at 5. Asleep by 9, get up at 5. I've been doing it for years. My nickname is the Sleep Queen. I just have very full, deep nights of sleep But there were years that I didn't because I wasn't doing it. And so coming back to where we started, instead of hearing advice or seeking advice and just being like, oh, I already knew that, and dismissing it, actually trying some behavior change is really probably what you need to do to find this deep sleep, this deep healing sleep that we all need and want, especially as we age. I'll wrap up by saying I think of sleep as a job. It is my job to sleep. So just like a daytime job, when you have to show up at a certain time in the morning and you leave at a certain time at the end of the day, and that's what you have to do because you have a job, that is me. I show up to bed at a certain time at night and I get out of bed at a certain time in the morning, and I treat sleep as my job because for my longevity, it is my job. So I'll close with that. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and feel free to like or subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you next time on Energy Works.